on the successes and barriers to institutional learning, which was the first thing that was done yesterday. And what we've done is really to summarize them there were many, obviously, but we have three key ones here. First one is on the innovative policy and program reform. Just looking at, just hang on a second. I must be sure that I'm on time. And so, right, okay. And that was really, three things were highlighted that kept recurring. That there is success around the policies and programs, which of course we talked about yesterday. Some of the examples are given there. I'm not going to go over all the detail. You can read it yourself as I talk through them. The second one was about enhanced regional collaboration and knowledge sharing, that has happened. You will see caveats to that later on as we go into the other slides. But yes, there is evidence of that happening. And where it has happened successfully. I guess today is an example. This session here is an example of such a level of collaboration and learning. And then the third one was about digital innovation and capacities building. So the use of digital tools, such as online platforms, again, caveats coming up later on in terms of exactly what that really means, but there is evidence of it, and the idea was, what are the successes that you can point to right away? And those are three key ones that you identified. So keep in your mind, as you're listening to all of this, does this resonate with me? Is this, in fact, what I think? Is it true to form in my mind? Oops. Okay, so we asked the question, how did these successes happen? What enabled them? And I thought this was a really fascinating one. And you can see how clearly that success doesn't just happen, that there are factors that enable success. And here you've identified strong stakeholder engagement and leadership. So it was driven. It just didn't occur. It was driven. And then effective coordination and resource alignment. So there were resources available, there were clear guidelines, and then there was a plan to implement. And you went, and that happened. That enabled the success to happen. And then I think most crucial of all was an openness to exchange, a desire, and the words that kept coming up was intentional use. So intentional exchange visits. They weren't just visits to see what was going on, but there was an intention behind them. So all of this, what's resonating through all of this is that there was a commitment to move it forward in that direction and a plan outlined for how that would happen. Then we also spoke about common challenges. And again, it's almost like the reverse of some of the ones that we just highlighted, coordination and communication barriers. So the same factor that enables something positive to happen is the same factor when it's not present that creates a barrier. I mean, it's obvious, isn't it? Then inadequate incentives and lack of institutional memory. Was another one that was identified. So difficulties creating structured systems to enable those to be long-lasting beyond the particular project or the individual that's working on them. And then you talked about infrastructure and capacity gaps. So not having the infrastructure and not having the skill within those organizations necessarily to enable some of this type of systematic learning, documentation of the learning, sharing the learning, and a follow-up to see the application of the learning. So those were on the common challenges that, and my clicker is not cooperating fully today, but right, so we looked at systems for effective learning. Can we move on to the next slide? Thank you. Okay, so we asked the question, are there current systems in place? And people said yes. There was some dissension there. Some people said, no, not really. Some people said, could point to country-level platforms and working groups. They could point to regional coordination efforts that exist. And they could point to some ad hoc approaches. So they don't occur systematically, but they do. And they are an approach. They are embryonic. They're things you can build on. So there isn't, as we said yesterday, it's not an absence of everything. There is learning going on, albeit not always in the most structured of ways. And then learning events. So those four were talked of about systems in approach. Next slide, please. Okay. So we asked, what were the proposed systems or approach for shared and applied learning? What do you propose? Now, this slide is really important for you thinking about taking forward what you're going to do after you leave here and how this could grow. The first one was a common learning framework. The need for a common learning framework, giving structured guidance to the what and the how of learning. And that really is just what learnings to be prioritized. What do you want to learn about? Now, this is a framework, so there's a suggestion, obviously, that there's flexibility within the framework. And it may differ for different programs, different countries, different levels. But there's a framework that's needed to give guidance in what needs to be learned and how it will be learned, who will lead on it, who will do it, at what level. That level of information doesn't exist yet, and there was a call for it. So then the second one was about a harmonized digital platform on the region or at the region that would allow for information to be collected, stored, and shared, accessible to whoever is eligible for it to be accessible to. Strengthened coordination and governance, again, looking for a clear framework highlighted there, again, reinforces number one, clear framework for roles and responsibilities, including incentives to help integrate it into program work. And then embedding learning into program design. So here we go again. So that would be monitoring, evaluation, and learning. Learning is a component of that tracking of what is happening within the organization. And you could have that as a component of a wider framework for learning within FSRP. So very much about structure, having a format to collect that data, strengthening the governance around it, and then embedding it. And the part of that embedding, I must spend a minute on it, this incentivization that kept running through is very much also incentivizing people in some organizations worldwide. Learn is actually part of a promotion criteria. So if you can actively demonstrate that you have been engaging in or working in or have a project around learning, that is actually a promotion a criteria at work. Okay, now the final one, I think, is... Oh, is that better? Okay, thank you. Okay, components of actionable learning. Very quickly is two came out, define and prioritize thematic areas of excellence. Participants suggested identifying most effective technologies that would reduce post-harvest losses, okay? So essentially what people are looking for here is what are the successful approaches that have been used? And I guess we have noted them, but where are they documented and where are they shared? And the second one was to undertake a comprehensive baseline survey that people wanted to conduct a baseline survey across all implementing projects. So this would map out practice, identifying gaps, etc. And essentially what this is saying is, if you take everything together, the ask here from yourselves is that you require more structure, You require guidance. You require flexibility within that guidance. And then you need the resource to support that. So you need the resource to be able to do that. But a well thought out framework that is beyond, a yearly annual plan activity, but that which you could adjust your annual activity to enable that to happen. So to enable you to systematically learn. And very clearly, the documentation of the learning. So first of all, what's the learning that's occurring? And then secondly, where is it stored? Where can we access it? Thirdly, how do we share it on a systematic basis? Is it accessible to people? Fourthly, how do we track it to make sure that it is making a difference? Because somebody said yesterday, at the end of the day, the question is, so what? So that's the issue. And how do you put something in place that systematically does that for the FSRP? We have identified the elements of it here, and the next stage is really to come up with that framework that would enable that. So this is now fed back to you. I guess the idea is reflect on it, and as we go into this next, we're going to ask you a couple of questions in this next session around this, and it would be useful for you to keep all of this in mind as you begin to reflect on those questions.
Thank you, Femi. Thanks so much. It was very interesting, those 4 clear steps you outlined as well. All these points, of course, will be available to you and shared with you. I'd like to invite my colleague Joshua up. We're going to ask you 2 quick questions on the Mentimeter. One, are there any gaps from what we just presented? The second one is, Wednesday afternoon, as you know, we're going to meet some ministers and high-level people at over at the AU. We want you to already think about what some of those key takeaways we would bring to them might be, or even some questions or asks we would have of them. So, Joshua, could I invite you up to just run us through that process?
Yeah, I'm going to read it while he sorts out that.
Very good, because it's still been going on the technology.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, very good.
Yeah. So we'll just wait for the questions to come up. Meanwhile, can you all pull out? It's a Mentimeter question, so please, can you get ready to log on to Mentimeter? Yeah, great. Some people are well ahead of us, and be ready to go to the question. But meanwhile, did that resonate with you, what you just saw, broadly speaking? Can I just have a show of hands, a sense of, did this reflect what you thought you provided yesterday? Yeah? Okay, yeah? Absolutely, great, yeah. Okay, that's really good when you feed back and give the analysis that it really does capture what people thought. Just have to wait a few more minutes here.
Femi, just while we're waiting, maybe that first question we can just do in plenary about any gaps, and people might be able, and then if the technology, the Wi-Fi is a bit slow at the moment, what do you think?
Is it?
I think we're okay.
Is it working?
Well done, Joshua. Battling the digital realm.
Right, we are struggling with the internet today, and we're trying to do something about it with the hotel. You see how we do. So what we'll do, let me get this clicker. Okay, let's see whether we'll succeed. Please, you know the drill. Use the QR code or log into menti.com. Okay, log in, please. Let's see. Let's get as many of us, if not everyone, to please log in. Either use the QR code or log in to menti.com, and you've got the use code. And remember, as we turn the slides, the user code will be at the top of the slide. So I will move, and then Femi will guide us through the responses.
Excellent, thank you. So, what other highlights weren't captured in the recap summary? Was there anything that comes to mind as you were looking at that that says, actually, there's a gap there, we didn't capture that, that you think is pertinent and that needs to be part of the proceedings of this, this workshop? If you don't have it, don't make it up. If it's there, if we captured everything, that's fine. Okay, partners. Very interesting, important, yes. Private sector, sustainability. How do we continue to engage? So continuity. Okay, partners, really important. Sustainability, key things. See, there are 4 partners coming up. Private sector engagement. Okay, again, phrased another way, synergies with other partners. Partners of all types. So it's not just, it's partners, policy partners, country partners, regional partners, all partners. I think it's implicit there. It's implicit in the issue of coordination, but where we can bring it out more clearly, the issue of partnerships, focal points, yes, that's in the framework. It has to be in the framework, and yet that's a really important point. The focal points for learning and advancing that need to be clear. I would totally agree. Yeah, clear articulation. Here is your framework that people said that they wanted. Definitely. I think defining what that digital platform looks like is another issue, but definitely that was highlighted. Collaboration with governments there, yes, very good. Yeah, importance of gender in the programs, yes. The role of RECs and TTLs, roles, all have to be defined. Gaps in linking FSRP in national food systems. So coordination, I assume, within the countries. So the issue of coordination, yes. Social inclusion, context specificity, centers of excellence for learning, yes. Research and extension, mentioned somewhat, yes, has a big role to play and needs to be highlighted. Right, okay, excellent. That's great. If we can move on to the next question. Oh, no, let's do a summary here, see what people are, what the summary says. Okay, we've got regional collaboration coming up as number 1. Partnerships. It's interesting that regional, unless it's subsumed partnerships under there, oh, we've got partners role, okay? There was a lot on partnership, right? So those are things for us all to note as we go in there. Yes, gender inclusion is a distinct one. Private sector engagement, and then the partner roles. And regional collaboration and digital platforms have been cited, but I guess we need, this points to the fact that it needs to be made more explicit. Okay, excellent. Can we move on to the second question? Second question, based on yesterday's session, what key issues would you like us to raise with the ministers tomorrow? Actually, you're the ones raising them, but you have I guess, conduits through which it's raised. But what would be the key issues you would like to come to the attention of ministers tomorrow, based on everything you have done and heard and interacted with over the last day and a few hours? Policy harmonization, strengthening collaboration, harmonizing policies. So is that harmonizing policies across the levels, region, national, whoever wrote that, just add that to there? Everybody's policy harmonization, another one. Can you be more specific, please? Just so we're clear. Political support, yes, that was a key issue that enabled, if you recall in the graph, that's what enabled success, that political leadership. Okay, remember this is going to ministerial level. So you're looking for high-level support to enable implementation on the ground. So try and make your stuff high-level so that we're picking up really what are the policy things they can work around or resource or those types of things. Okay, effective regional and continental coordination, public investment, common learning platforms. Okay, harmonized policy at regional level, really good. Policy across countries, so it's a range of things. Okay, sustainability of the gains, and that points to the earlier point. Yeah, and this is a point actually that hasn't been raised a lot, that whole sustainability. Very, very crucial, so that when this is all said and done, when you know, way past the involvement of the bank in the individual countries and the region in this area, that it is still ongoing, and it's going strong, and there needs to be thinking now to enable that to happen. Yeah, their involvement, yes, absolutely. Okay, security issues is an interesting one. So can somebody just elaborate on that a bit? To be raised to them, what does that mean? Just put that back in here so we can take a look at that. Okay, I think the rest of them seem to be, are we getting any more? Okay, there's still a few more coming in. Okay, they're being analyzed now. Let's see what we have. Regional cooperation, right? Policy harmonization, yeah, we picked that up. Budget allocation, very important. It's a budget allocation there is not just for the implementation of the whatever agri-food, et cetera, it's for learning and enabling learning, establishing a learning system and platform that will allow you to tap into the gains of what has been done in the way that we've described learning over the last day and some. So that's really important. That budget needs to be broader than project-specific. Digital agriculture, learning platforms, correct? Right, okay. Yeah. I've got 55 seconds. Any last thoughts on this? I think, is there anything below this, Joshua? Any others? Is that all done? It's all done. Okay, brilliant. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I don't know if there will be, Stephen, where's Stephen? Stephen, there's Stephen. An opportunity for you, if you think of any other things over the course of today, to actually just plug it down somewhere and share it with us.
I think that's a very good question, and thank you very much for this, Femi. Tomorrow morning, we will be presenting to you a synthesis from what you've come up with yesterday and today, plus discussions we'll have with the organizing team of agencies to present you some key messages to take forward to the government, to the ministers. So at that time, we'll incorporate this, and then you'll have another chance then to comment. Yeah, actually, that's very, very useful already. Right, the jacket's off. We're getting practical now. We're going into digital agriculture. We're very lucky to have some people from Washington who've come all the way out for this. Empowering African food systems with digital technologies. We're going to talk about the opportunities and the challenges. We have a great team here, starting with Parmesh Shah, if you could stand up, sir, Global Lead on Data and Digital Agriculture from the World Bank. Priscilla and Nicholas will introduce you at the same time. Priscilla, where is Priscilla here? Priscilla, FSRP Project Coordinator for Kenya. Asante sana. We know you already. Nicholas Makandwara. Where is Nicholas? All right, he'll show up later. Boniface, you'll be coming later, but hello, Boniface. Now, just before we start, we're going to do a very quick exercise. I don't know if, Joshua, you're ready to do a little quick 2 questions on farm and farmer registries. Is that so? No, pardon me. I think we're, Parmesh, why don't you come up together? I think, are we doing this together, aren't we? Yes, I mean, Joshua and Parmesh. Now, I've seen Parmesh present before, and I'll need 5 minutes because of the internet. Okay.
Questions on digital.
All right, what we're going to do, because of the internet, the technology is such that we're going to start with Parmesh's presentation, and then we're going to go back to the questions as we get those sorted. A couple questions.
It's not a good advertisement for a session on digital agriculture. If we
Over
are
to you.
Stopping because of lack of connectivity in a place in a hotel. So, but that's the reality. The connectivity is not still perfect. There are 350 million people with mobile phones and 160 million people with internet connections in FRSP countries as of now. But there is a digital divide among the urban and rural areas. So the rural connectivity is still an issue, but the reality is that a lot of digital solutions have to be accompanied by physical solutions, and there's a lot happens offline, then something happens online, and then a lot of services get delivered in a physical form. So we call it phygital. Physical and digital have to be together for some time, and digital is not a panacea for all the problems. So what I will do in the 10 minutes I have is to make you run through some of the issues we have found are very important in digital agriculture in context of FRSP context, and tell you what you should be looking at. So in context of FRSP, there are 5 to 6 critical indicators which you should be looking at in FRSP. The first one, which we will go into depth today, is digital farm and farmer registries. If all the FRSP farmers in the countries are digitally registered, their farms are registered and farmers are registered, we will have the foundational data allowing us to design very good services, both public and private, for them. So this is the first foundational thing which you should look for in FRSP countries. We will go into it. There is geotagging and geomapping possible today because of satellite data. You can have every field marked up in a particular kind of way. Then farmers should not receive general services. They should receive precision services according to their soil type, according to the crop they are growing. So precision agriculture for smallholders is a very important issue which FRSP should try to address as we going forward. Then weather, very big issue. Whatever you do in terms of productivity, if you don't get just-in-time, good quality weather advisories, all things could evaporate. Then comes the fertilizer advisory services. You will be surprised to know that 50% soils in Africa have turned acidic because of a particular fertilizer use. So it's not enough to just keep on giving any fertilizer. Precision fertilization is important. It's a combination of organic, inorganic, and then a lot of other soil health things like microbes and others which have to come into play so that soil health becomes a more precision fertilization issue as opposed to becoming a general fertilizer. So we have peddled number of general solutions to smallholders for a very long time, but digital technologies and data allows us to come with precision solutions for smallholders in many areas. And that's the challenge which FRSP should embrace. If we are able to develop precision solutions using digital technologies, it will help us going forward. Then crop monitoring through Earth observation satellites. There are a lot of satellites in Africa. Some countries in Africa are having their own satellites now. So it will be good to set up a system whereby you are able to use satellite data in FRSP very systematically. And then comes the whole market services. We will discuss trade. There's whole issue of digital traceability if you want to capture export markets there. So whole range of things. I'm just giving you some indicators which should be at the back of the mind when you think about data and digital agriculture. Now, we are not on ground zero in FRSP, which you will hear now from many countries have already started registering farmers, and I have just put a list here. It's not a complete list. By the time we finish today, can you fill these metrics so that we can announce today that 20 million farmers are already digitally registered in FRSP? We don't have a monitoring system right now, but my estimate shows that we are already at about 10 to 15 million farmers digitally registered, and we will learn about it as we go forward. Same about weather advisories and lots of other things. So I think we should look at the outcomes and then work backwards. A lot of components, when we look at FRSP, there's a digital advisory services component, there's a hydromet component, there's information systems component. So all of you have designed projects with components of data and digital agriculture. So we are not on ground zero. You already have enabling components in your projects so that you don't have to wait for someone to tell you to do this. You can do this on your own. Now, I will take today, we are going to focus on digital farm registries quite a bit. And you will do a lot of group work to see how you can do it. So it's like there's more about how to today than what. So let's go deeper into it. So Kenya, just give you an example that they have already 6 million farmers digitally registered with all kinds of data, farm data, livestock data, crop data, all the data there. Once you have data, services can get delivered. If you don't have data, services can't get delivered. So data is the foundational investment which is required in all the FRSP countries to really build a robust service delivery platform for smallholders. Now, I don't want to go through it, but this is not happening only in Africa. Philippines has already registered 9.4 million fishermen and farmers there. And they are developing a service delivery platform in remote islands based on this. So I'm just giving you a flavor of that. This is being done all over the world right now. And we in Africa should embrace what everyone is doing and try to see if we can create a similar robust data platform all over. Now, India has registered 36 million farmers already, and they are creating 110 million farmers to be registered by 2027. It will be called Agri Data Stack. It's called Digital Public Infrastructure. And I think Africa, if it creates a similar digital public infrastructure, it can do financial services, it can do extension advisory, and it can do a lot of services. So I'm just giving you a flavor of that. This is being done globally across 46 countries have already invested in digital farmer registries. Now, you have a sister program, ICRA, which is also funded by World Bank with CGIAR. They are working on hydromet and advisory services. 17 national meteorological and hydrological services are being capacitated to deliver good quality forecasts there. I strongly feel that ICRA and FRSP should be twinned and develop a sister-sister or brother-sister relationship. If both the programs are in the same direction, and if we can twin these programs, our impact will be faster, and you should develop a learning agenda with ICRA. This was mentioned by one of the presenters yesterday, and I also feel that ICRA has many digital and data components which FRSP can benefit from. You don't have to invest in the same things. They can invest in some things, and you can invest in some things. Now, the bigger picture which I would like to tell you is that Africa has the brightest agri-tech and fintech youth population of startups in Africa. If we do an FRSP program which is just based on public sector, it is not utilizing the big talent in Africa right now. And we are going to discuss some of these examples in a subsequent session later on. You have 800 startups in Africa. We have a complete database of these startups. You should yourself go back to your countries and look at which of these startups you can work with, and please develop a public and private platform for service delivery. It's not enough for only the government to deliver services. You have to look for potential partners of startups and work with them. And there are plenty of them. And we have worked in many countries now with these platforms. Now, Ethiopia itself has now developed a climate information agroclimatic advisory with one of the brightest startups in Africa region called Larisha. And I think you should try to learn from how Ethiopian government and Larisha have together developed the most modern climate information agroclimatic advisory right now. And Ethiopian farmers are accessing these services in a very dynamic kind of way. Another thing we are now trying to do with many countries, including Ethiopia, Kenya, and many other places, is to develop a digital agriculture roadmap for the next 5 years. Because if you don't have a roadmap, you just do one app here and there, you create one thing here and there, and it does not lead to sustainable change. So what roadmaps do, they do diagnostic, they take use cases, they develop a vision, and they develop an implementation mechanisms to do it. Ethiopia has developed a very robust roadmap with complete ownership of the government there. And you saw the minister yesterday talking about digitization quite a bit. So I think we need to build more programmatic approaches to digital as we go forward. Finally, thing which you guys should all learn, that artificial intelligence for agriculture is now emerging as a very important thing, whereby you use data to develop actionable artificial intelligence insights and develop chatbots and lots of things for farmers. And Africa has already started doing it. There is an AI-enabled extension service chatbot being used in Kenya and Ethiopia, using all the data where a farmer puts a question, and within 2 minutes, you have all the kind of options generated very quickly out there. Extension agents are using the chatbot to access latest information. And what it does is that it enables analysis of all the data at the back end and is able to deliver services there. So this is the future. And I think we will talk to you later on about it a little bit more. And we are thinking of establishing AI kind of a lab in some of the countries in Africa jointly with the government now, because we will have to bring artificial intelligence into our thinking as we go forward. So thank you very much. I just give you a flavor of what's happening because I want to stick to 10 minutes as these guys will kill me if I don't finish in 10 minutes.
I wish we could. Big hand of applause for Parmesh. Parmesh, we were thinking we'd go do the Q&A based on this before we go to the specific Mentimeter. So let's take 10 minutes. We'll pass the microphones around. What were we thinking of asking? We were thinking, what resonates with you? Do you have any questions? We have 10 minutes. Please put up your hands. We'll bring a microphone around back there. That's number. Thank you. Pass the microphone. Stand up. Tell us very quickly who you are and pose your question, please. And we'll stop after 10.
Hi, my name is David Solomon, and I lead ECRA in Eastern and Southern Africa. And it's great to see that you have presented many of the digital innovations that has been developed with the collaborative partnership of CGR, African governments, as well as the private sector. So the question that I'm going to ask is all of these technologies that are being currently developed, including here in Ethiopia, whether it's climate information services or phenology-based ag advisories, both for crop and livestock systems, early warning, drought forecasting systems, and all are really integrated and under the government's aspiration. But everything depends on an integrated national ag data hub where climate, weather, soil, agronomy, crop, livestock, husbandry, market, all informations are integrated together. So this is what we have been discussing with CARDESA and also the IGAD region. how do you see the role of integrated national arc data hubs, which can be developed in many of these FSRP programs with the support of CGIAR and others, including ECRA, to be considered as innovation hubs through which decision support tools can be developed for policymakers, practitioners, and last mile connectivity? Thank you.
Now, would you like to take a couple and then answer them? Let's. Who else has a question or a point? We'll take three and then answer. Yeah, here we are. And just tell us who you are and your question, please. We'll take one more question after that and let Parmesh.
Thanks so much. My name is Sintai Olamai. I also work with CIAT with the CGR. This is a great initiative that you presented. I also see a good nexus between the lowland production area, which highly affected by recurrent droughts. So there is a good effort in terms of digitalization, developing an innovation technology in terms of agro-advisory with focus of lowland particularly. So how do we really link non-World Bank funded bilateral project with FSRP projects? Because they are on good ongoing initiative, particularly in Ethiopia, which potentially can also be scaled to the other part of the FSRP implementing countries. So how do we really create that really good nexus so that you can really scale up from what has been really developed instead of reinventing from the wheels? So I'm speaking from the lowland production perspective.
Nice,
Thank you.
Nice. Thank you. Very good. Let's take one more point or question. We'll. All right. Yes, one more back there. Again, just tell us who you are quickly, and short question would be appreciated.
Good morning. My name is Abdulrazak. I work with FSRP Somalia. Most of these digitization processes are dependent on good connectivity. And good connectivity may be also a function of power availability. Yeah. So with all these issues being the basis for a successful creation of digital platforms, and with most of these countries grappling with the power connectivity up to and including where we are now, how do you see the possibility of that being realized or that challenge being overcome? Thank you.
Excellent questions. Parmesh, over to you for a response, please.
Thanks a lot. Very, very important questions from all sides. I think the first question, I'll take Solomon's point first. I think developing an integrated data system is very important. I think, but difficult to do because there are different people collecting data for different reasons, and there are not enough incentives to build an integration architecture. But I think what you will hear now in the next half of the presentation from Boniface is how Kenya is able to develop a big data center which brings the weather data and all the data together, and that becomes the foundational investment there. And I think we have to aim to do that in many countries which have very good granular data systems, but they have not come together for that. So I think we have to aspire to bring an integrated data system, and I would suggest that FRSP organize a data integration hackathon to bring all the data at one place and then sees if we can do that. We cannot do this in a conventional way, country by country. Let's bring all the data systems together and see whether CGIAR data and all the data can come together. So I think, good point. I think aspirationally, definitely important. And if we develop a roadmap of FRSP, which aims to do it after 1 or 2 years, we can definitely do that. The point you mentioned about the land system and all is exactly the same one. There are at least 8 initiatives going on in Africa, which I think have to come together in order to have the full impact. So FRSP can become a convener and a catalyst to bring a lot of these things together. And there is a land conference in Washington in which a lot of land registry examples are coming in which we are looking at how the land data gets digitized and then gets combined with farm data and farmer data and then becomes an integrated platform. Integrated platforms are desirable but difficult to achieve. But we have to aspire to do that so that we can at least achieve some optimization as opposed to getting a perfect example there. The third point, I think, very good point for FRSP Somalia. I think there are pockets of connectivity in every country. So you need to look at, do a lot of stuff offline, do a lot of data analytics and integration online, and then bring them together from time to time. I'll give you an example. The digital registries can get collected through an offline platform, and they can be then brought together. You can collect it on a mobile. It's not digitally connected, but it's an architecture on which you collect in a mobile and go to the connectivity place, and then all the data gets integrated in a digital platform. So there is a good combination of offline and online, which is required, and there are now ways to do it. And if you look at Somalia also, I think Somalia has almost like 68% mobile connectivity right now. A lot of pastoralists are also having mobiles. They share a lot of their prices and cattle movements through mobiles. I personally have visited Somalia a couple of times, and I see a lot of entrepreneurship around digital initiatives in Somalia also. There's not a single country I have visited in Africa where there is no innovation and entrepreneurship happening in pockets. Now, it's important for us to identify that and then integrate it with larger systems. But here, we are trying to bring energy to a lot of locations in Africa where we can improve the problem of what we are talking about. And then we have also our digital initiatives which are talking about increasing digital connectivity for rural areas. So it is not going to happen only through agriculture. There have to be a lot of foundational investments which have to accompany that. And I think, but developing use cases in agriculture has been done in many locations which were not fully digitized. And yet innovations are coming from all the sources. So I wouldn't like you to think that full energy and full digitization, unless you do that, you cannot find solutions. Solutions are found in constrained environments, and that's how you develop the innovation ecosystem. And once the infrastructure comes in, it becomes even scaled up there. So it's just to tell you that best, the good should not be an enemy of the, you should not go for best. You should go for good, and this will build as we go along. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. That's excellent. I think we're just going to do a quick Mentimeter because now we're going to, with that excellent overview, we're going to go and drill down a bit on farmer and farm registries. Joshua, will you come up and just lead a quick Mentimeter for us on that? And then we'll have a couple of quick lightning presentations, which of course I like because get ready to do another quick. Exactly. Thank you.
Right now there. But I would urge you guys to, because we were supposed to do these questions at the beginning of the session, so which was supposed to happen before my session, but